Okay, so Daniel, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good.
Yes, very well, thank you.
So, I'm going to start with the first question now. How did you get involved with computing?
Long time ago, I suppose I started playing around with the Commodore 64. The really cool thing about that is that I don't have 64 kilobytes of memory. But it's even worse than that. You know, nowadays we've got millions of, or even gigabytes of memory. But back then, out of that 64 kilobytes of memory, 37,999 bytes were only available for you to actually run a program. The rest of it was taken over by the operating system, essentially. So people at the time had to be extremely clever about how they wrote computer programs, because out of only 38,000 minus 1 bytes of memory, you had to pack in, a really awesome computer game. So you had to be very methodical, I suppose, in how you allocated memory and deallocated memory to make sure that you got everything that you wanted in there. And you were displaying it to a TV which was 320 by 200 pixels in resolution. And people used to build really cool games even though you had such limited resources. And I suppose the other really cool thing about the Commodore 64 is that if you were going to play a game, you'd have to load it in using a tape, an audio tape, like a cassette. And it would often take about half an hour to load the game. And by the time it gets to 99% loaded, it would just stop. And you'd have to rewind the tape, which would take 5 minutes, and then start loading it again. So you might spend 2 hours before you'd actually get the game to load. Play the game for 5 minutes and then shut down. But on the really good side of things is that I came with a language called QBasic.
Sounds good, Joe. We know
Commodore 64 rules.
We noticed you also started off in Cork and then decided to come over here to RGU. So we're wondering what specifically drew you to RGU?
Well, Cork is fairly close to the sea, but not exactly on the sea. So it was interesting being in a city that is actually by the seaside, as in it's 10 minutes walk from the city centre and you're at the beach. So there's really nice, clean sea air to be had. Also, the one really interesting thing about Aberdeen is that it's actually further north than Moscow. So that's a really awesome factoid to be able to say. And the architecture of the city as well, it's known as the Granite City, so pretty much every single building is granite, and it has the second largest granite building in the world as well, Marshall College. So it's really interesting things about that.
We also noticed you've got 2 professional memberships with pattern research, pattern recognition organisations. Is that something you're quite interested in?
Yeah, it is of some interest. In the past number of years, I attended quite a few conferences on pattern recognition. There's quite a big pattern recognition group, let's say, in Ireland, and they hold a conference every year, and I used to go there and attend.
Technology in the classroom. So what do you think the role of technology in the classroom is going to be in the future?
In the future, I suppose all of us lecturers will probably be lecturing from our homes. We'll all be video conferencing. Universities, as you know, will probably vanish. We won't have lecture rooms per se. It'll be just broadcasting. So we'll be sitting in our office. You'll be sitting at home. We'll all be having tea and biscuits and coffee and whatnot, and talking, and the whole area of blended learning or distance learning is becoming very popular. Like the Open University is, I suppose, leading the way in the UK in terms of distance learning programs.
And you teach graphics and animation, I heard?
Yes, I suppose. Yeah.
So what do you think the job prospects for graphics animation graduates are at the moment? Do you think they're quite high, or?
Well, computing, generally speaking, is a really good field to be in. Since the dawn of the microprocessor in 1971, it's been gaining in power ever since. I'm sure you've heard of Moore's Law. But every 18 months or so the CPU speed increases. It also sort of goes with hard disks and memory and stuff as well. So, you know.
Obviously, you're very interested in computing, but given the chance, if you were to come back to university again, would you choose to do another course? Or
I would probably do music or archaeology. Originally I did consider doing music. I used to study piano quite a lot when I was younger and in secondary school. So I did seriously consider studying music. I sat lots of music exams and stuff. But then I thought, well, what's the best career prospects? Music or computing? And I thought computing was probably a better aspect there. But I've always had a large interest in archaeology as well. I suppose maybe it has something to do with watching Indiana Jones and stuff. But
And then, what are your goals for the rest of your time at RGU?
Well, I suppose if you're into computing, then the only answer to that is research, research, and research.
And anything in particular, or just anything that takes your fancy?
Well, at the moment, multimodal interaction is what sort of interests me. So how can we use all these various types of sensors that are becoming popular with your mobile device to interact in strange, new, wonderful ways?
Yeah.
For example, there's lots of work being done in the area of health, especially in rehabilitation. Let's say if someone suffered a heart attack or something like that,
Yeah.
they may find difficulty in getting their motor functions back working as it used to be. So even just walking could be a difficult task. And you know, by doing a set of exercises, you can build up your muscle strength again, and you know, build up muscle memory. And by using sensors and computing devices to sort of track your progress, you can motivate the person. You can tell them that you're doing it in the proper manner. So that's a good thing. You can also monitor people. The population is getting older and older as we move on in time.
Now, we noted you're a member of RGU's Computer Society Control Bike. Would you like to tell us a wee bit more about it? How that came about?
Well, I suppose every university that has a computing department should have a computer society. And the society, there's people in there who have interest in lots of different things. People give lectures, so we've had people giving lectures on stuff like augmented reality. We've had people giving lectures on various algorithms such as backtracking algorithms and stuff like that. Giving lectures on LaTeX and typesetting and doing some programming kind of stuff. Of course, it's not just all about lectures and programming. There's always time to play some games, to run some LAN competitions, and usually to go out and do some hill walking and stuff like that as well. So.
That's the last question. Have you any regrets about your academic choices this far?
That's an interesting, difficult question to answer. No. I suppose, I started out playing with computers and playing with writing programs when I was really young on the Commodore 64. So I've always had an interest in computing, especially programming. It was really, it's really just an interesting area, and it's becoming more prevalent in our lives today. That it's an essential skill that everybody should have to understand basics of a computer and how to use a computer. But what's really important is to actually know how a computer works, how to actually program a computer.
Yeah.
We head into the future, we're becoming more and more technologically dependent. So, without computers, society just wouldn't be able to move forward at all, and we'd remain in the dark ages. So,
pretty sure you made the right choice.
definitely, computing is the place to be.
Yeah.
And one thing about computing is that, you know, if you're studying undergrad, you're just learning about what has happened in the past, but you know, the research that has been done in computing, there's research being done every single day. The field of computing is changing by the hour almost, or even by the nanosecond. Let's call it nanosecond. You know, there's something new happening all the time. But like, if you're studying, you know, a more classical field, you know, maybe history, for example, you know, you're only sort of studying the past. Of course, there's lots of things to actually learn and discover about the past, but in computing, it's certainly more looking towards the future.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed having you here.
Well, it was a pleasure being here.
Thank you.